the thing that's known for making 6 attacks does get its full damage against you.
Unless you disarm it.
It has 6 swords, Bob.
Disarm it really well.
Okay.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat, Heavy Armor Master.
What? Block. Use my armor effectively.
We've done it. We've come to the end of the armor feats.
This really did feel like a little subcategory of our videos where it's like armor feat time. Let's just do all of them. Let's them all together, apparently.
Yeah, well, I've been, picking the feats we do in kind of random order, but then we started down the armor feat road, and I thought, let's just keep rolling on it. And it's good. We've got a lot of engagement in the videos, and I think that it helped that they're all bunched together.
Sure. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought going into this, these would be some of your least viewed videos because they're some of the most unremarkable feats in the entire game to me. Like, light armor proficiency is one of the feats. Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised to find that not only do some people like these, but they're very passionate about it. Go look through these videos, read the comments, make some comments. But Heavy Armor Master, I believe, is where we turn a corner, and this is actually at least okay, maybe pretty good.
Womp womp.
You don't look like you agree. No.
I like conceptually this feat. I think mechanically it fails at a lot of important steps.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is prerequisites heavy armor. You can use your armor to deflect strikes that will kill others. You gain the following benefits. This is a really important line of text. You increase your strength score by 1 to a max of 20. Solid. If you have an odd, if you have odd score, you have an even score now. You get a plus modifier. You're really happy with that. Excellent. Muy bueno. 10 out of 10. No notes. The second line of text is the one I find more interesting, obviously, and the one that you seem excited about. It is while you are wearing heavy armor, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage that you take from non-magical attacks is reduced by 3.
Okay. I'm excited about them together.
They do definitely... I think either on their own, obviously, isn't worth a feat. Together, I'm still like...
Okay. Now, I might have felt this way in the past. If you go back and watch our Piercer video, I wasn't too keen on that. Where you were, which is why I'm surprised you don't like this one as much. Because Piercer just didn't feel like I was getting that much extra damage for my piercing attacks. But thinking about it more, over the course of a campaign, those little bits add up. And that's the same way I feel here. Every attack, every mundane bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing attack you take is going to be reduced by 3. And if you're the sort of person that's wearing heavy armor, you can expect to be taking a significant amount of these attacks, which I feel will add up significantly over time.
I definitely am thinking of this effect in a vacuum. Like when I was coming into this, I'm like, all right, how much of a difference is making in an average fight? Not over how much difference is making on the total course of your character sheet. So if we compare it to something like the feat Tough, which gives you 2 extra hit points per level, right? Mm-hmm. This obviously seems a lot better because it's going to give you more hit points in total amount of damage reduced than Tough ever could, because you're definitely going to be taking more than 2 hit points worth per long rest from this in terms of reduction, right? You're reducing a lot more hit point damage that way on average. But there are still situations where this just takes just stone nothing, and I never like that my feats are stone nothing. The reason I'm higher on Piercer, and when I say higher on Piercer, I don't mean it's a banger 5 out of 5, but I do like effects that give me agency, even if they aren't that impactful. So with the re-rolling 1 dice, I get to pick to do that. I don't get to pick if my enemies attack with bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage, especially with non-magical bludgeoning or slashing or piercing damage. This feels like it trails off a lot in the upper tiers to me as far as usability goes, and that isn't necessarily where I want my feats to be.
I did think about that, but do a lot of high-level monsters have just strictly magical attacks?
That's a great point. The answer is not really, and the reason I say that is because if we look at a dragon, for example, they're adult red dragons. Their claws are mundane. Their breath is mundane, which is really bizarre to me, I believe.
Yeah, but the breath isn't slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning.
True. it's still like the gist of it, right? I'm looking at like what things in this game actually become magical.
Mm-hmm.
Giants don't use like if you find like a storm giant, its weapon isn't magical to my understanding. I think its weapon is just like a really big sword, so it will be non-magical in terms of the bludgeoning, slashing, piercing damage you take from it. Now, you're taking comparatively 3 damage off of 30, which feels not that relevant, right? Like if their great with sword is getting a plus 14 to hit, it does 66 plus 9 damage. You kick 3 of that off. That's gonna feel a lot worse than like damage resistance, but this does stack with damage resistance.
Yeah.
So like maybe this is better than I'm thinking. Maybe I just write off like, oh, upper tier is all magic. That isn't necessarily true.
Also stacks with tough.
It also does stack with tough. I mean, ish. Hit points kind of. Maybe this is enough. Maybe I'm too pessimistic. I mean, it's definitely the kind of feat where like I don't know what build takes this, right? I don't know what character goes, okay, now I take heavy armor master. It might be, maybe it's a way that you start with the 17 strength, this gives you the bump to 18 and some damage reduction while you're doing great weapon master stuff. Like you're upping that kind of thing as you're going, and this is just the route you choose to explore. That could be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking fighter off the top of my head.
Sure, they have like a million feet, so it seems like an easy route for them to go. This is like the 4th feat they get, maybe 3rd feat they get. You get the feats that you really want early, and then you go, all right, grab this, and that gets you a 19 to a 20 or whatever.
Maybe, but I'm thinking the other way around. It pains me to recommend this before some obviously good feats, but this is going to shine brightest at the lowest levels.
Yeah, the 3 damage you chip off of again the third, like we can also look at it in this perspective, right? If you have 120 hit points and the only thing hitting you is doing 30 damage chunks, if you're in that fun interval where it's like, oh, any reduction means I'm getting 1 extra hit in, it's excellent. There are a window though where you're like, I have 90 hit points or I have like 80 hit points and this thing still drops me in 3 hits. Those intervals of 3 damage isn't really changing the interval of hits it takes to drop you, because you're taking the chunks that are so large that the actual smaller hit point quantity doesn't really matter. The math on this gets really funky really fast, and we get into this space of like, well, how many instances of this kind of damage are you taking? How many instances per fight are you taking for this to start to matter? I think it still will matter in a lot of fights, especially whenever you're not just against one giant thing hitting you for 40 damage a pop every time. If you're getting like 5 or 6 hits around aimed at you, 2 of those are hitting, knocking off 6 damage around seems pretty solid. I just don't know how often that's happening, and it's very like challenging to conceptualize in a generalized term for that reason.
Yeah. How is this interacting with resistance? Like,
stacks. So you would knock off the damage
halved and then -3?
I don't know. Let me Google. I think that's how I would roll it.
Right. And that's
resistance
kind of a big difference.
Plus heavy armor. I mean, it's 3 damage, Bob.
All right.
Like, is that big? Heavy armor master is not damage resistance. Let's see. It combines with it. There's a Sage Advice on it. Check that out. My guess is that, without me having to do it right now live and find it via the interwebs, my guess is that the damage is resisted first, this applies first, then the resistance ticks over. That would be my guess. Oh no, that's definitely not true. That's definitely not true, because you're only taking the damage from the resistance. So yeah. Okay, I changed my mind. I flipped it back. You take you resist the damage first, and then you reduce the resisted damage by 3. So I think this works.
That's how
so it doesn't give you +6. I don't think. But again, check Sage Advice. If I take a hit from a storm giant, I have resistance to them. I'm a variant, I'm raging, I have resistance to this greatsword.
Yes.
I would normally take 30. Then I apply resistance to that. I'm taking 15. Then I actually take 15 damage, and I shrug 3 of that off, and I take 12.
Right.
That is how I believe this works. I don't believe it works in such a way that you would reduce the 3 first and then have it.
Well, if you reduce the 3 first,
that would make it worse.
Yes, exactly. All right, good. I'm not going insane.
I was going insane briefly. There's just numbers going in front of my mind right now, and it's not going well.
All right. Well, we've had it out of this video.
Sure.
Awesome.
Not really full of content, more of just rambling, but that's fine.
I hope you're all enjoying it.
I'm gonna give this a 3. This is fine, right?
I'm gonna go up a notch, at least 4 for me. This all right, not
at least
a solid 4. What do you mean when do you? I just gave you when you take it. You take it as a fighter, maybe
We just had a moment where you're like, I don't want to take this first though on any of these builds.
I know. I just said, no, you said you don't want to take it first. I said it pains me to consider it, but I would consider it because it shines so much more brightly the earlier you get it.
Maybe. I mean, I still don't like. This also has the definitive problem that it is an exclusively defensive feature. And I just don't find those to be as fun to play with. I know people don't tend to like their builds are about killing things, and killing things is almost always going to be better than staying alive. In that, if you can reduce something to 0, it stops dealing you damage. So, like, you're going to prioritize parts of your build to reduce people to 0 faster. Those tend to be feats like Polar Master and Great Weapon Master and Sentinel and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
that's where it's clunky, right?
Like take this after those in priority, not necessarily chronologically. Does that make sense?
I think that would also almost always inform its chronological order.
Probably, but not necessarily.
That's fair. I think it's a neat little feat. I like this. I want them to use this mechanic more. It's resistance of old, where you'd have a resistance and a number, and you would reduce that much damage from that kind of effect. Bring it back. Do more things like this. It's fine. It's cool. It works well with the base system. Why not? This is the only thing in the game that reduces damage raw like this, to my understanding. Commenters at home, is there more like this that I'm not aware of? Hit me up.
Also, all right, before we close out, you were talking about these bigger creatures that do like giant chunks of 30 damage. What about the ones that, they've got like 6 attacks? Maybe it equals 30, but each hit is doing a little less.
That's really, really good in that instance, right?
Yeah.
It's reducing like 15 damage in a single round.
Right. Okay.
Against a Merilith, you're like, oh, thank God. Its 6 attacks are reduced by 12. Assuming it's not using a magical sword. So there are caveats there. And that's a demon, so maybe it does. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, you give it a 3. I'm giving it a 4. Sticking with my 4. Heavy Armor Master.
Unique.
Yes. I think I'm giving it a little extra gush because it's the only one of these armor feats I'm at all excited about.
That's fair. I do want to point out, Merilith, I just checked, they do use magic swords, so you're shit out of luck for getting the 6. The thing that's known for making 6 attacks does get its full damage against you.
Unless you disarm it.
It has 6 swords, Bob.
Disarm it really well.
Okay.
Is it immune to the fear spell?
It is only immune to the poison condition. No, so you're good to go there.
All right. Boom. That's my favorite fight in D&D.
Is being in heavy armor, casting fear.
Yes.
Okay.
Or, my friend casts fear. He drops the 6 swords. I run in and collect them all. Yep. All right. That was a Heavy Armor Master.
This video really went off the rails.
Yes. These are the best videos. All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know your opinions. I know you've got some. This is the last of the armor feats. You've come with us this far. Let's hear your thoughts on this one. Also, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And goodbye.